Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Warfare Tournament. This week, we have a little bit of a shuffle around with some people, and we're got our panel of three. That's the main thing that happens. And we are going to look at modern era guys, basically post WCW shutdown, new era, ruthless aggression up until now. 16 guys who worked in WWE and a lot of other places, won championships, but never won the WWE Championship or the Universal Champion for that matter. So we got 16 guys who, a good handful of them definitely should have been able to do so. Some of them still have a chance to. We'll see if that happens, but who knows. And we'll break it down, our bracket of 16. We'll show you who's all in there. I want to just thank you for watching on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you let's get your podcast from, watching on YouTube or Facebook. And it's our regular time of Wednesday at 6 p.m. We are brought to you by our friends over at CoolBet, and want to remind you to stay cool and bet responsibly and be a part of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast and Predictions League. And you can always join that and win points towards our championship belt. Now to bring in our panel, Jonesy, still in the middle of trying to move, which is happening this week, in Niagara Falls. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just another day.
Understandable.
Right now I have the other place, so right now I have two places to take a crap.
Ooh, fun. You were supposed to have tonight off so that you could do the moving, but Steven has a sore throat and wasn't able to be part of this, so I tagged you back in. And our other guest that was supposed to be taking your spot is from Welland, Matthew Terry. How are you, sir?
I'm in my garage, and I'm drinking apple juice. I'm in my garage because it's bedtime for my 5-year-old, and you have to record at this time of night. So I have to move all my stuff out to the garage, and I have to get as close to this door. Otherwise, you're going to see a wagon and a bicycle and a dresser that I'm trying to strip down. And I'm drinking apple juice because I'm not a coffee drinker anymore. Why am I not a coffee drinker? Because now I'm a guy who does acupuncture. And you're not supposed to have caffeine when you do acupuncture. So, hi, everybody. I'm Matt Terry. Happy to see you.
That's awesome. So we're going to break down 16 guys who worked in WWE for a long while. Some still are working there, have not won the big one yet. We'll see what their potential is. We'll probably break that down, what they've already won in other places. And so let's see this week's video, and we'll bring up the bracket. So back in just a minute. Okay, and there you see our 16 contenders for this week. A lot of these matches, I was looking at it when I was doing my notes and thinking, wow, this would actually make a really good tournament if we were able to put these guys actually in the ring and see these matchups happen live, but we're doing it in our fantasy warfare sort of thing. And we have match number 1, MVP versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Finley in match number 2 taking on Zack Ryder. John Morrison taking on Bobby Roode in match number 3. Match number 4, Umaga versus Samoa Joe. Match number 5, Matt Hardy taking on Cesaro. Match number 6 has Wade Barrett taking on Mr. Kennedy or Ken Anderson. Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes are going to face off in match number 7, and Tommy Dreamer taking on William Regal in our last matchup of the first round, match number 8. So, guys, your thoughts on this before we dive into our bracket? Jonesy?
Yeah, I thought Nakamura was a champion.
Yeah, it's surprising that some of these guys haven't been. But yeah, they've been champion elsewhere and even some WWE championships, but not the big one. Matthew?
As far as some intriguing matchups, I have an opinion on all of them, and I'm not going to spoil anything I'm going to say about any of them. But yeah, some intriguing matchups. But I'll be totally honest. There's people there that I'm just like, yeah, I can't believe it. But there's also people there just like, really, why is this person in the tournament? Not that like nothing really against them, but it's just, yeah, why is it like consideration? But we'll get to that.
Understandable. And, I know some of them could have been replaced by other people that got mentioned to me afterwards with a guy, Nathan, that I was talking to that I work with. He's like, oh, well, this guy could have been in there. That guy could have been in there. But, yeah, just trying to spread it around from the last 20 years of guys who've been around WWE and not climbed the top of the mountain. So we're going to go with round number 1 and match number 1, and that has MVP taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. So notes on MVP: his real name is Hassan Assad, or formerly Alvin Burke Jr. Born October 28th, 1973, now going by Montel Vontavious Porter. He's from Miami, Florida, debuted August 10th, 2002. So he's been around almost 20 years without the title. He's worked for WWE, TNA, New Japan, and Ring of Honor. He signed with WWE in 2005 and started in Deep South Wrestling. He debuted on SmackDown October of 2006. He's won awards such as Most Improved Wrestler in 2007 and Most Underrated in 2008. Both of those are from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. So when we look at some of the titles he's held, All Pro Wrestling, Universal Champion 1 time, Big League Wrestling, Heavyweight Champion 1 time, DDT Pro Wrestling, Iron Man Heavyweight Championship 1 time. He was the first New Japan Pro Wrestling Intercontinental Champion, and that title has just recently been retired by New Japan. WWE US Champion 2 times, Tag Team Champion 1 time with Matt Hardy, and he won the Slammy Award for Trash Talker of the Year just this past Slammys in 2020. So going over to the other side of the matchup, Shinsuke Nakamura, born February 24th, 1980 in Kyoto, Japan, debuted August 29th, 2002. So there's only days in between their respective careers starting, both in August of 2002. He's worked for Impact Wrestling very briefly, and he's one of those guys that you're like, he was there? But he was. New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then went over to NXT, and now obviously on the main roster in WWE. He was the final IWGP third belt champion, the final NWF heavyweight champion, and he's won the Baltimore Sun match of the year with Sami Zayn at TakeOver in 2016. Most popular wrestler in 2016 by PWI, number 5 in PWI 500 in 2015. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, most charismatic in 2014 and 15. Match of the year in 2015 against Kota Ibushi. And then Wrestler of the Year in 2014. NXT Male of the Year 2016 and NXT Overall Performer of 2016. Titles. Now, all these are basically in New Japan or WWE. So New Japan, he was the third belt champion one time, IWGP Heavyweight Champion 3 times, IWGP Intercontinental Champion 5 times, IWGP Tag Team Champion 1 time with Takahashi, IWGP U30 Openweight 1 time, NWF Heavyweight Champion 1 time, G1 Climax winner in 2011, New Japan Cup winner in 2014. Going over to his time in WWF or WD, NXT champion 2 times, IC champion 1 time, SmackDown Tag Team champion 1 time with Cesaro just recently, US champion 2 times, and he's the 2018 Royal Rumble winner, which is pretty much the closest he's gotten to that title when he took on AJ Styles in a ball for ball shot match at WrestleMania. So it's pretty sad that that's unfortunately the closest he's gotten to that title, and they were trading ball shots. However, looking at these two, I'm going to go with Nakamura. He has a lot more major titles to his name, especially with everything from New Japan. And of course, he's got a handful of titles with WWE, including the 2 NXT championships, which were almost outshining WWE at belts at the time. So that's my vote. Jonesy, your vote.
My vote is Nakamura. He is I think he's a better wrestler in and out of the ring. And the fact that his machismo that he has, I wish he would leave the WWE and go back to New Japan or go somewhere where they actually appreciate the guy. He's just underused. He is, to me, what wrestling is all about. He lives and breathes that character as soon as he steps through the ring. He has probably one of the best entrances out there because he's a freaking rock star when he goes out there. I really enjoy his wrestling, not so much in WWE, but that's fine. WWE is a different type of product than what he was wrestling before. MVP, yeah, he's a good wrestler, but too short, in my opinion, for a champion when you have Nakamura, who's just all legs. To me, it's Nakamura.
There we go. And Matthew, is it a clean sweep, or are you throwing a bone to MVP?
Not even close. It's not even close to throwing MVP anything. When he first came to WWE, I didn't see it. Everybody was over the moon about him, and I didn't see it. And then I went and I watched his Full Impact Pro because, that's where, he really honed his craft and everything, and I didn't see it. Like, I just didn't see it. And I think he's in the perfect role now. The managerial role, occasional wrestler. I think he's great in that. On the flip side, Nakamura, the first time I got the opportunity to work for Ring of Honor, I had never heard of Nakamura. I saw Nakamura that night and just boom. And I did so much research, and I went back and I found so much on this guy, and I fell so much in love with him. And then he's going to NXT, and I'm just like, oh, yes, I hope they don't ruin him. And then he goes in there, and he's against Sami Zayn, and oh, my God, and it's awesome. And then he's winning the championship, and I'm like, yes. And then he goes to WWE, and I'm just like, oh, no. And then he starts off with Dolph Ziggler. Hey, they're going to work well together. And then just boom, boom, and then he wins the Royal Rumble, and I am just absolutely, oh, my God, here we go. And then he goes to WrestleMania, and it's just like, no. And for whatever reason, they didn't do it. But I'm still holding hope. Lately, Nakamura's kind of gotten back into the spotlight a little bit. So it's not even close for me. Nakamura for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely still an opportunity for Nakamura to pull it off. But as Jonesy said, you'd love to see him go. But the surfing is, I guess, too good for him to move his family back to Japan. So that's what keeps him in North America and working for Vince. Match number 2, Jonesy, you get to do this one.
We've got David John Finlay, a.k.a. Fit Finlay, whatever you want to call him. He's from Belfast, Northern Ireland, 233 pounds, and he stands at 6'2". He is now a trainer and producer and retired from the ring. But, of course, he is training still. He first started working for his father's promotion. He had a successful career throughout Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland and throughout Britain. He would join WCW under the name the Belfast Bruiser and would be there from 96 to 2001. He then joined the WWE and started as a trainer and would eventually be put in charge of the division. He would return to the ring in the WWF from 2005 until 2011. He was released due to authorizing The Miz interruption during the national anthem at a house show, which upset a lot of people, and wrestled for a couple years on the indie scene after being let go, including TNA, until his return to the WWE, where he currently is. Of course, he's praised for his work in the women's division, getting it out of the panty matches and into more traditional true wrestling matches. He's wrestled in All-Star Wrestling, British Middleweight Champion, World Middleweight Champion, Catch Wrestling, the CWA British Commonwealth Champion, Intercontinental Champion, and the World the World Middleweight Champion, and that was 4 times for that. He's won a lot of other things. He's been in Fighting Spirit magazine. He got the LL Cool J Award. Good for him in 2006. Joint Promotions. I could go on. Lightweight. We can do that more. I think he's pretty good there. Let's go on to Ryder. But you know what? Ryder, I don't like the guy. I've never liked the guy. Yeah, he's an okay wrestler and all that jazz, but his woo-woo thing, please just poke my eyes out. The guy's awful. Why I want my eyes poked out, I don't know. It should have been the ears, but whatever. So he was trained by Mikey Whipwreck and would debut in New York Wrestling Connection. He would sign a developmental deal with the WWE and would wrestle in Deep South and OVW. He would go to ECW, where he would stay from 2007 to 2010. He would then declare himself the WWE Internet Champion and have a semi-successful career. He would hang around the WWE until 2020 when he was released. He would have a stint in AEW and now currently works in Impact. He's worked in Deep South. He got the tag team champion there twice. Mostly tag, it looks like. WWE, the IC champion, United States champion, the Raw champion, the Raw tag team champion. Slammy Awards, 3 of them. Most annoying catchphrase, I agree with. He's fine to have on your show, but he's not a potential champion in my books. So I'm giving it to the other guy, who is Fit Finlay. He can be boring to watch, but he is a good wrestler, solid. I actually kind of liked his WCW days where he looked more like a Barney Rubble. But I got to go with Finlay.
Matthew.
As I said earlier, there are people in this tournament that I just look at and go like, well, why are they in here? And unfortunately, I'm doing that with both these guys. And it's not that I dislike both these guys. The reason I look at Ryder is, the whole woo-woo-woo and, okay, like he's got charisma for days. I'll give him that. But I've never seen anything really special with him in the ring. And those United States titles and that Intercontinental title, I think I don't know how much that adds up to, but it's not much time. Like he never carried a championship for very long. The tag titles, I think they carried for a couple months, but you barely ever saw them. And they were losing to like the Viking Raiders all the time. And like there was no build up. There was nothing for me to see that ever warranted. Again, charisma for days. Everybody look, hey, you're the woo 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 guy. Yeah, that's great, but that's not championship. That's not. Finley, I remember the first time I saw him was the Junkyard Brawl or whatever it was called between him and Steven Regal at the time. And just holy fuck, like, are these guys mad at each other? Like legit and everything. And I love watching Finley. The problem with me and Finley being in this tournament or this environment, and it was the same thing when he was kind of getting that main event push with Batista, and he had some title shots and everything. Yeah, I love watching Finley, but it's just one of these things is not like the other. And I think the problem was Finley fell into that groove where you could put him anywhere. He would make anyone look good. He made Khali look good. He made like Batista, and nothing against Batista, but Batista another level up. He made people look good, and you could just stick him anywhere on the card to make anybody look good. And he was never sustained anywhere. If he would have sustained in that main event picture, maybe, and gotten into there a little younger in his years. I don't know how old he was when he got in there, but he wasn't a young chicken at that point. If he would have sustained there, maybe it would have felt a little more. But just Finley never came across as a true world champion to me. But still, out of the two, I'm a fan of Finley.
There we go. So I loved Finley as well when I saw that Belfast Brawl. And he had the jacket with the one sleeve off and the other part had like a metal shoulder pad. And he brawled with Regal and got dark hair, mullet, everything going on. The really weird pencil mustache. Totally different look compared to when he came to WWE, and then had Hornswoggle as his son. But yeah, these guys, as you guys both pointed out, didn't really climb up, and they were more jobbers to the stars, while also being able to almost gatekeep in a way where you could get a good match out of them, but you knew they weren't going to go up. They had longevity with WWE. Zach just got actually released a little while ago, or last year. But yeah, I think I'm going to also go with Finley as well. So it's a 3-0 victory, moving on to face Nakamura in the next round. But match number 3, Matthew, you want to tell us all about Morrison and Rude?
Well, I don't know if I can tell all about them. I digress. It's been a rough few days here in the castle, if you want to call it, the garage. I haven't had much of a chance to prepare to really get the background. You guys, amazing job on getting the backgrounds. But John Morrison, Bobby Roode. John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact. Johnny, he's been Johnny. He came down here to Alpha One Wrestling, and he was Johnny Alpha. But he's been all kinds of places, just described by his name. Former tag team champion, former Intercontinental champion, former United States champion. Yes, I'm trying to do all this from memory. Former Impact World champion. He's got a lot of credentials. Bobby Roode, again, former Impact champion. I think he was TNA champion. Whatever you want to believe. Former tag team champion in Impact. Again, like one of Scott D'Amour's, prize students. I will throw in, and there's a few people that I know are going to watch this and they're going to pop hard. Bobby Roode, former Universal Wrestling Alliance champion. That's the promotion that I started my career in. So two guys, just very, very good credentials. I apologize for my lack of preparedness, but I made up for that in the WrestleMania tournament. You know that.
That's for sure.
Anyway, I do apologize for that. But, I look at these two guys. Morrison, I've never gotten past the Flash. Like he looks great, looks like $1 million. But just the whole, go out there, raise the arm, and the fans go off, and the hair flies, and everything's in slow motion. And yeah, he can flip, and he's, great. But I don't see the flash. Bobby, for years, as I said, I've known Bobby for years, and even when he was in UWA, just solid wrestler. Like he's the opposite. If you could take John Morrison and Bobby Roode and go like that, awesome. But solid wrestler. Everything perfect. Everything crisp. Everything on point. But he can't talk. He can't. There's no charisma. There's no flash to him. Then he comes to WWE, and I'm like, hey, great. My friend has made it to NXT. And then everybody in the crowd is glorious. And I'm like, yes. Like he hit on something. It may have been my accident. They may not have meant to do it, but it hit. And everybody was glorious. And I'm like, yes, that combined with his great wrestling. But then he hits the main roster, and there was a few people, glorious. But I think a lot of people were just like looking at them going, what are you doing that for? What is this? What is glorious? Like, that's stupid. And the masses kind of pushed it back down. But if I had to pick out of the two, Bobby Roode.
Okay. I love both these guys, actually. Saw John Hannigan become a wrestler by watching Tough Enough. And so he was one of the Tough Enough 3, I believe, winners.
That's it. Show that you're more prepared than I am. Fine. He was a Tough Enough winner. Go. Yeah.
So yeah, he was Tough Enough winner. And just looking at his WWE matches or titles, he was one-time ECW World Champion. That's when he went from Johnny Nitro to John Morrison, doing the ECW time and looking a lot like Jim Morrison from The Doors. WWE Intercontinental Champion 3 times, WWE Tag Team Champion 1 time with The Miz, WWE Tag Team Championship 4 times with Joey Mercury and 1 time with The Miz. WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions 1 time with Miz. ECW World Championship Tournament winner in 2007. Tough Enough 3 was the Tough Enough that he won in 2003. Co-winner was Matt Capitelli, who passed away. Got 2 Slammy Awards, Tag Team of the Year in 2008 with Miz, and Best WWE.com exclusive, which Dirt Sheet with The Miz in 2008. So, as you said, he has a lot of different names. Just looking at the list, I brought it up when you mentioned all that, and there's probably a ton that are missing because of the fact that they didn't count for all the different indies that he was at. But John Hannigan, John Morrison, Johnny Blackcraft, Johnny Blaze, Johnny Impact, Mundo, Nitro, Onyx, Spade, Superstar, and Ultra are some of the ones that are listed here for him. And then you got Robert Roode, Peterborough native, cousin to one of the people, one of the girls I went to school with. Almost got a chance to meet him at a TNA event here in London, but then there was an injury and didn't get that opportunity to do so. That was amazing, as you pointed out, the glorious Bobby Roode aspect. He finally found his niche there. Former TNA Impact World Champion. I'm having a hard time deciding, so I'm going to throw it to Jonesy to decide, because I'm going to throw my vote to Morrison and have a tiebreaker.
It's Bobby Roode.
There we go.
John Morrison looks great and everything, but like a Jeff Jarrett, there's something missing there, in my opinion. Bobby Roode, honestly, I don't really pay attention to much of his talking, more his wrestling style and how he looks. He looks like an NWA champion to me. He's like out of a mold. If he was younger, he definitely, I'm sure, would get up there in WWE eventually. But because of his age, it is good to know that these guys now that are in their 40s can still get to the WWE and finally get some more mainstay recognition. So it's Bobby Roode.
Yeah. I love his presentation as well. Maybe that single mustache moment for 2 weeks that he had, kind of want to push that to the side. But yeah, I just wish they would do more with him as well. But even Morrison right now, I feel he deserves more than just being a sidekick to the Miz and being an afterthought. But hopefully that changes soon. I see it coming. Round number 1, match number 4. Umaga taking on Samoa Joe. Umaga is Edward Smith Fatu, born March 28th, 1973. Unfortunately passed away December 4th, 2009. 6'4", 350 pounds. He's gone by Armageddon 1, Eddie Fatu, Ekmo Fatu, Jamal of 3 Minute Warning, also Fatu, and of course Umaga. Debuted in 1995. PWI number 22, 500 in 2007. Won or tag team with worst tag team. Sorry, trying to read my own rating. Worst tag team by Wrestling Observer Newsletter with Rosie in 2012, and then or 2002. Titles: All Japan Pro Wrestling champ 1 time, Heartland Wrestling Association Tag Team Champion twice, Memphis Championship Wrestling Southern Tag Team Champion 3 times, and WWE IC Champion 2 times. Going to the other side, and this is going to show you probably how I am definitely voting. When that's the amount of notes for Umaga compared to that's the amount of notes for Samoa Joe. There's so much to talk about with his titles and different awards, but Nafolo Joel Ciano, his real name, but born March 17th, 1979, has worked for TNA, ROH, NXT, and WWE. Resides from Orange County, California, known as Joe Siona, King Joe, and of course Samoa Joe. 6'2", 282 pounds, and debuted December of 1999. Some of the awards he's won was CBS Sports Commentator of the Year 2020, CBS Sports Smack Talker 2018, PWI Feud of the Year 2007 against Kurt Angle, PWI Most Popular in 2006, number 4 in PWI 500 2006 and 8. Surprisingly, both years, number 4. TNA X Division champion, Mr. TNA 2006 and 2007, TNA Feud of the Year 2006 and 7, both with Kurt Angle. Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Best Brawler 2005 and 6, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Most Popular in 2005. Then for titles, he's Lucha Libre AAA Tag Team Tournament winner with AJ Styles in 2006. Pro Wrestling Noah Tag Team Champion with Magnus 1 time. Ring of Honor Pure Champion 1 time. Ring of Honor World Champion 1 time. TNA TV Champion 1 time. TNA World Champion 1 time. TNA Tag Team Champion twice. TNA X Division Champion 5 times. TNA King of the Mountain winner 1 time. Then over in WWE NXT Dusty Cup winner with Finn Balor in 2015. NXT champion 2 times, and WWE US champion 2 times over. So, unfortunately, a lot of stop and starts and demons got in the way of Umaga being able to have a better resume. But for my liking, I'm going with Joe, who unfortunately was just recently released. May or may not have another shot at coming back to WWE and getting that elusive world title. But only time will tell if he can get back in the ring and, I guess, get around all those things that WWE wanted to shelve him for a commentator for. So, Jonesy.
Samoa Joe, I don't know. He's great in the ring and all that. But again, I just feel he's missing something to be a champion of a major company. I like the Monsters, and Umaga could have been a champion, mind you. I don't think he could ever do it on his own. He'd need a manager, cheat something. But Umaga is kind of, to me, he's kind of like the new improved Kamala, is what he reminded me of. He was just another version of Kamala. He had great presence in the ring. Really, it didn't matter if he could wrestle or not, and he was decent. Of course, he's Samoan, so he can wrestle. I got to go with Umaga on the fact that, yes, I'd rather watch a Samoa Joe match, but as far as if I was booking or whatever, it'd be Umaga all day long.
Matthew, you get to break a tie.
It's a lot closer than this is one of the matches that I saw, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Exactly.
I'd like to see those guys throw down. Samoa Joe probably, and he proved it with being a commentator. He's a better, obviously, orator than Umaga. Probably a better moveset, more. He's got more flash than Umaga. But, like Jonesy was saying, he's that monster. He's that bulldozer. He is like a Kamala, but he was a more focused Kamala. Kamala would come and he'd be going like this, and, he'd be going like that. And Kimchi would just be like, follow me, like, follow the staff or whatever. And Kamala would be like, laying him on his belly and, like, and then going like this. So Umaga was like a more focused Kamala. But Umaga also had Armando Alejandro Estrada, and I loved Estrada, and he was just go, like, and Umaga just boom and just threw you, destroyed you. So I'm kind of with Jonesy in the fact that I don't see Samoa Joe quite. I could see him maybe as a transitional champion. Maybe, but if Umaga would have kept going with Armando Alejandro Estrada, the charisma and the orator and just the awesome brute in the ring, and just like this, and they did it both perfectly. I out of those two, I would have said Umaga is the future world champion. So I'm going to say Umaga.
And he had the Samoan spike.
Exactly. There's a move, and I'm not saying Samoa Joe can't choke out anybody. And, it's kind of cool sometimes when you see something like that. But, yeah, the Samoan spike, it's so simple. It can be done to anybody. And, yeah.
And now it's the Nigerian nail.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that gets that one done. And, Jonesy, you can start us off with the next one. Matt Hardy versus Cesaro.
All right, Matt Hardy, birth name is Matthew Moore Hardy. He was born in 1974, 6'2", 236 pounds. Hardy would break into the business with his brother Jeff with the self-created Trampoline Wrestling Federation. He would have wrestled in many independent, including their own from 92 to 94. He would join the WWF in 94, and his first match was against Nikolai Volkov in the WWF. He and his brother would, of course, catch on fire as a hot tag team come 98 and on is when they really kind of finally burst through the barrier. And in 2005, he would be released by the WWE and go back to the indie scene, including ROH. But after a fan outcry, Matt would return and, of course, feud with Edge and blah, 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 blah. Let's look at his titles. Of course, he has the Dynamite Award, really, and All Elite, whatever. Who cares? All-Star Wrestling, the tag team champion with Brother Nero. Worst moment of the year with Sammy Guevara. There you go. Future Stars of Wrestling, FSW Heavyweight Champion. You know what? He's got a great look. He's talented in that, but I don't buy him as a world champion. I just don't. He doesn't look the part. He now looks more like a crazy scientist. He definitely has the charisma, not the greatest on the mic, but of course he's gotten better as time has gone on, especially late in his career is when he seemed to find a really good gimmick. Cesaro, these are two guys personally I don't see being ever big champions in any place. Tag champ, sure, but there's something missing from both these guys. Cesaro, he again is a fantastic wrestler. He started in Europe. He went to Shakara, CZW, or ROH, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Pro Wrestling Noah, and of course the WWE from 2011 to the present. Again, he's won some tag team Grand Prix through Shakara. He's been a unified heavyweight champion with the Cleveland All Pro Wrestling. Again, he's got lots of credentials and all that, but if I could vote nobody, I would vote nobody, but I have to vote somebody. I would go with Cesaro because I think Cesaro is the better wrestler. He definitely has the tools to be a champion, but whether he has the look and the mic skills, I've only watched his matches, I don't watch the Raws and all that. So as far as interviews and all that, I don't really know. I just know he's a really good wrestler. But I got to go with him.
Matthew?
I disagree with Jonesy on one point, and that's Matt Hardy. I think he's a serviceable world champion. I think he was a serviceable world champion when he was with Impact. But like, there's not the flash of his brother. Like, you stand next to this bright light long enough, and then you go over here, like, yeah, that light's not as bright over there. Like, it really took the shine off of Matt Hardy being away from his brother. And I think he's because he's a solid wrestler. He's a solid wrestler. He has a fan following. Maybe he kind of deserves a championship because the fans are, yay, Matt Hardy. We love Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's hot. My wife would say that all the time. He would come out, like, she'd be like, haha, that's hot. So, you want to appease the fans. Fine. He's a solid wrestler, solid enough wrestler with a fan base. Okay, let's do it that way. Cesaro, I've been a fan of Cesaro for years, but I still see time with him. So I haven't. There's a lot of people on this list where WWE seemingly tried and said, well, here, what do you think of this? And then just kind of pulled it back. Just like they gave a push and then just like it didn't immediately pay off and they just pulled it back. And, Zack Ryder, we're talking about him earlier. Hey, let's put a title on him after 2 weeks. It's like, hey, this ain't doing shit. Let's take it off him. Cesaro, they haven't – everybody's called for it. Everybody said, give him a push, give him a push, give him a push. But WWE, they didn't really pull the trigger. They're starting to kind of like, okay, here's Cesaro in the main event. Let's see what he does. Let's see what happens in the next month or so. If things don't go well with Roman Reigns, who knows where he's going to end up. But Cesaro, I've been amazed. Everyone's like, oh, he's not getting a push. Well, he's also never been kind of sprinkled out there and taken back from us. So, I like the look. I like the James Bond thing with the suits and everything. I think the man looks damn good in a suit. I think he could be a good world champion. I think he could. So I'm going to go with Cesaro.
Okay. I'm going to clean sweep it on that as well. It's just been the fact that, as you pointed out, he's been thrown into tag teams and gotten those titles, especially with the feud they had with Sheamus and turned into the Bar. He's been tag teamed with Nakamura. I think he's only had like a U.S. title, maybe an Intercontinental title. I don't have the list in front of me for his accolades, but yeah, it's only now that you have somebody like a Daniel Bryan helping with the creative that has given him that opportunity that others have not seen in him, and allowing that voice of the people to say, hey, we want this guy to advance. And we saw a really good outing with him finally getting a singles victory at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins. Now he's getting close to probably being announced as a number one contender for Roman Reigns at Backlash, potentially, if things go to that plan.
WrestleMania Backlash.
WrestleMania Backlash.
WrestleMania Backlash.
Yes, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania SummerSlam and
That's
WrestleMania
right.
Survivor Series and everything WrestleMania branded.
Everything's WrestleMania. WrestleMania Hell in the Cell. WrestleMania, you get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Hardy, he's that perennial mid-carder that could always be a great trainer, I think. He's somebody you always get a good match out of. He's definitely slowing down right now. The whole Broken universe, I wasn't really into some weird and wacky stuff there, especially with the cinematic stuff they were doing. But yeah, I'm definitely on board with Cesaro, hopefully getting a sniff towards the world title. Unfortunately, I don't see anybody taking that Universal title off of Roman till at least SummerSlam at the earliest. So it's just going to be a chance for Cesaro to put on a good show in a losing effort. But yeah, I'm going to go with Cesaro as well for a clean sweep. And that brings us to Wade Barrett against Mr. Kennedy or Ken Anderson.
All right. I how stupid am I? Wikipedia is like a click away, and I can at least BS my way through this. All right, so let's get.
That's what we do.
Well, no. He's got Post-it notes. He's got Post-it. I'm telling you right now.
I think I got my notes from.
Well, no, but okay, that's fine. That's fine. But here's the thing: it would be a lot more impressive with big paper. When you're look at all the stuff I've done, and it's this big. It's not that impressive, dude. It's really not. But you have Post-it notes. Anyway, I have Wikipedia. Hold on here. Wade Barrett, Stuart Alexander Bennett. He was born in 1980. Fuck, he's younger than me. Anyway, formerly Bad News Barrett, King Barrett, Lawrence Knight, The Lord, Stu Bennett, Stu Sanders, and of course, Wade Barrett. The guy, according to Wikipedia, has a bare knuckle boxing career. Looks like he went right into World Wrestling Entertainment, Ohio Valley Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling. The winner of the first NXT, like the first true NXT, I guess, with the mentors and everything. So he was the first winner. Won a world title match out of that. And his mentor was Chris Jericho. He was the leader of the Nexus. Let's see here. The head of the Barrett Barrage. Former Intercontinental Champion. Won the King of the Ring in the 2015 King of the Ring tournament. Let's see here. Actor. He's currently an actor. And actually, I've seen some of his stuff. He's actually a damn good actor. Let's see here. The championships. Feud of the Year as part of the Nexus with John Cena. Newcomer of the Year 2010. Feud of the Year was 2010 as well. Former Florida Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Drew McIntyre. There's a tag team I'd love to see. Ohio Valley Wrestling Southern Tag Team Champion with Paul Burchill. There's another tag team I'd like to see. Man, I got to go back and find this stuff. Pro Wrestling Illustrated Feud of the Year, again with John Cena as part of the Nexus against WWE. Most Hated Wrestler in 2010 as part of the Nexus. He ranked number 19 on the top 500 singles wrestlers in PW 500. Former Intercontinental Champion 5 times, King of the Ring 2015. Won NXT Season 1, Intercontinental Championship #1 Contender Tournament. He won in 2014. Slammy Award for Shocker of the Year. The debut of the Nexus. Well deserved. All right, let's go over to Ken Anderson. Let's BS our way through this guy. All right, Mr. Anderson. I got to do it. Anderson. I had to. I'm sorry. Actually, I guess. Oh, no, I did it for both. Ken Anderson. That's his real name. An American professional wrestler, actor, and wrestling trainer and ring announcer. I actually knew this. I'll get to that in a second. Kamikaze Ken Anderson, Ken Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, Two Rivers Jack. Let's see. What do we got here? We have he went to Ohio Valley Wrestling in 2005, went on an undefeated streak. United States champion as well, winning the Money in the Bank match in 2007. Yes, 2007. He won the Money in the Bank match, but never did get to use it because he lost it to Edge. Let's independent circuit. TNA heavyweight champion. Let's see. Part of Immortal, part of the Aces and Eights. Oh, God, I forgot about that. Let's see. Return to the independent circuit. He's now with the National Wrestling Alliance. Yes, he is. And yes, he is currently working for Top Rank Boxing. I'm a boxing fan, and I was watching Top Rank Boxing, and holy crap, that's Mr. Kennedy. Let's see. Championships, All-Star Championship Wrestling. He's the ACW, or he was the ACW heavyweight champion, tag team champion with Mike Mercury, Eric Hammers, and Adrian Serrano. Probably the first time those guys have ever been said on the internet in a long, long time. ACW television champion, ACW Hall of Fame. With all those accolades, I'm sure that's well-deserved. Big League Wrestling heavyweight champion, tag team champion, Championship of Wrestling, United Championship. Man, that's a mouthful. Great Lakes Championship Wrestling heavyweight champion. Heavy on Wrestling. Oh my God, who is naming all these companies? Because Heavy on Wrestling, the acronym is HOW Wrestling. How Undisputed. Oh my Lord. Mid-American Wrestling, the Maw. Mid-American Wrestling, Maw heavyweight champion. I bet it was the proudest moment. NWA Midwest heavyweight champion. New Wrestling Evolution. New Wrestling Entertainment, because I guess they changed names. He was the heavyweight champion. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, he was the number 7 in 500 in 2011. Pro Wrestling Pride, he was the heavyweight champion. River City Championship Wrestling, he was the heavyweight champion. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, he was the heavyweight champion twice. Ultimate Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Big Daddy Loker. Okay. World Association of Wrestling, the WA World Heavyweight Champion. World Wrestling Entertainment. I've heard of them. No, I'm kidding. I mean, no disrespect to anyone that I have mentioned. I'm sure they're all great companies, and I really mean that. World Wrestling Entertainment. He is the United States champion one time, Money in the Bank winner 2007. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Best Gimmick 2005, Worst Gimmick 2013 as a member of the Nexus. Or no, sorry, of the Aces and Eights. That's awesome. Because I said earlier. Not a surprise. Extreme Intense Championship Wrestling, Tag Team Champion with Joey Paget. Those are my two guys. I'm going to come back here. Now I can see you guys. Mr. Kennedy, another guy who's charisma for days, but I didn't really see it in the ring. There wasn't anything, and I mean move-wise, like his charisma just bled out in the ring. And I'm not surprised that he was a world champion in TNA, but I just never really got behind his moveset. Wade Barrett, I'm going to go back here because they have their stats here, don't they? And I can't remember exactly what he is. The dude is 6'7", 246 pounds. He's got a legit background of bare knuckle boxing. How the hell is this guy not? How is he not the prototypical world champion? You look at him. He's got the look. He's got like a body. He's got the moveset. He can talk, which he's showing now as a commentator. 6'7", 246 pounds. How the hell is this guy not at least a 3-time world heavyweight champion? So no surprise, I'm going with Wade Barrett.
Oh, I got some bad news for you. I'm also picking Wade Barrett. Just, if it wasn't for John Cena putting a squash to their rise at SummerSlam and wanting to go over in that WWE versus Nexus fight that they had, things would have been different. You had Edge and Jericho saying we should have been the ones losing and Nexus should have gone over. You're trying to build new stars. He was great as King Barrett. I loved Ken Kennedy as well. I saw him here in London before he became Mr. Kennedy. He was Mr. Anderson at a house show here in London. And I just kind of liked how his presentation was, doing the whole ring announcing and echoing his name. He had a rocket being strapped to him originally. That's why he got the Money in the Bank, but an injury took that away. He was supposed to be Vince McMahon's illegitimate child, but that became Hornswoggle because he got fired after having a bad outing with Randy Orton, and Randy Orton decided to say, yeah, the guy's dangerous, and bye-bye, Mr. Kennedy. So when sort of he was his own worst enemy, depending on how you look at it, and Wade Barrett wasn't his worst enemy. It was circumstances and politics that stopped him. So I would go with Wade Barrett over Ken Kennedy in this case. Jonesy, clean sweep or not?
Kennedy Anderson, he's kind of showing his age now. He's not quite as put together as he used to be. I think he's great for NWA, but for a major promotion like WWE, no. Barrett should have been champion. The problem with Barrett is they didn't strike it when it was hot. He was friggin' hot. He was probably the bad guy with the Nexus and his feud with John Cena. Right there, he should have got a lot closer to the belt, if not maybe winning it. But now, if he decided to get back into the ring full time, I think he could definitely, with the right storyline, he could make it. I like Barrett. I did not like Bad News Barrett or any other Barrett. The Nexus Barrett was the best.
Yeah, and there has been rumors of him having an itch to possibly put the boots and trunks back on. We were also talking about Nexus and the factor there with NXT the first season. People would have seen that list and thought American Dragon Bryan Danielson should have won, just even regardless of the name. But you take out that almost a given, he was definitely the best opportunity, Wade Barrett was, to win the NXT format in that first incarnation. So we go on to our next one, which is Sami Zayn versus Cody. Sami Zayn, Rami Sabili, I probably just butchered his name. Born July 12th, 1984. He's Syrian and Canadian, born in Laval, Quebec. Has worked as El Generico under his real name, Remy Sabi, Stevie McFly, and Sami Zayn. 6'1", 212 pounds. Debuted March 1st, 2002. A lot of these guys have about the same length of career going on for them. He's worked at ROH, PWG, WXW, DDT Pro, NXT, and WWE. He was the co-winner of the award from the Baltimore Sun Match of the Year with Nakamura in 2016, DDT Pro Best Foreigner in 2012, number 23 PWI 500 2015, Wrestling Observer Newsletter Feud of the Year 2010 with Kevin Steen. He won also the Shad Gaspar John Huber Award in 2020 from the Wrestling Observer Newsletter. I don't know what the criteria was for that one, but he was also the
it's
NXT.
a humanitarian award.
Yeah, but unless it's his work for Syria that got him that. He also just recently had a T-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees, the Dancing Sammy, giving money to that.
Yeah.
But NXT Superstar of the Year 2012. So you look at his titles: DDT Pro Extreme Division one time, DDT Pro KO'd Openweight 1 time. IWS World Heavyweight Champion 2 times. IWS Tag Champion 1 time. PWG World Champion 2 times. PWG Tag 5 times. PWG Battle of LA winner in 2011. ROH TV Champion 1 time. ROH Tag Champion 1 time with Kevin Steen. WXW Unified World Title 1 time. Then with WWE so far, 1 time NXT Champion and also 2-time Intercontinental Champion. Heading over to the other side with Cody. Cody Garrett Ronalds Rhodes, June 30th, 1985. He's been known as Cody Rhodes, Cody R, Cody Reynolds, and Stardust. 6'2", 220 pounds, debuted in 2006. He's worked WWE, Alpha One, Global Force, NWA, New Japan, OVW, ROH, and currently in AEW, and he's the executive vice president in AEW. Awards, he won the AEW Best Moment on the Mic 2021, accepting his dog collar match against John Huber or Brody Lee. CBS Sports Promo 2019, CBS Smack Talker in 2019, PWI Match of the Year 2019 against Dustin, PWI Most Improved 2008, number 7 PWI 500 2020, ROH Wrestler of the Year 2017, ROH Viewer of the Year 2018 with Kenny Omega, WWE Slammy Award for Tag Team of the Year 2013 with Goldust, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter Worst Gimmick in 2015 for Stardust. Titles he's had: AEW TNT Champion 2 times, Alpha One Tag Team Champion 1 time with Ethan Page, Global Force Wrestling Next Gen Champion 1 time, NWA World Champion 1 time, IWGP US 1 time, OVW Heavyweight Champion 1 time, OVW TV 1 time, OVW Southern Tag twice. Those were with Shawn Spears. ROH World 1 time, ROH 6-man Tag 1 time with the Young Bucks, WWE World Tag Team Champion 3 times, I believe once with Bob Holly and twice with Ted DiBiase Jr., WWE IC Champion twice, and WWE Tag Team Champion 3 times. A lot of titles there. Maybe a lot due to his family lineage. I love Sami Zayn, but given the two with their accolades, I'm going to go with Cody. Jonesy.
See, I don't like it when people crap on the Stardust gimmick when it was voted like the worst. I'm sorry. It might have not been a great character, but he made it great. To me, that's where he showed that he was definitely part of the business, because he took something that may have been silly to him. Basically, it's just riding off of the whole Goldust thing, and it was great. He was very entertaining. I'm just voting for Sami Zayn to make things difficult, and neither one of these guys to me is a world champion in a major corporation. They're just not.
Okay, and so Matthew, you get to break the tie.
I know who I'm going to vote for. I'm just trying to put a nice shine on the guy I'm not going to vote for. Let's talk about Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn can make anything work, and so can Cody Rhodes. The whole El Generico thing, he made that work. I was lucky enough to meet Sammy early in his career. Nice guy, a little shy at that point, but nice guy. And I had seen El Generico in the ring, and then backstage I met him, and I'm just, wow. I was amazed then at what he did. Jonesy talked about Cody Rhodes making Stardust work. I loved Stardust. I thought it was great. Sami Zayn can do amazing things, but a world heavyweight champion, he just does not exude that to me. He just, Intercontinental champion, I thought he was great. When he lost the Intercontinental Championship, I was very disappointed. I thought he was great as the Intercontinental champion. I think his persona now, I think he's kind of gotten out of that persona that, he's kind of evolved past it, and I wish he would have stayed in that kind of militant role. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Cody Rhodes, call it the lineage, call it, what's just natural is up here. And I don't mean that as a pun to his brother, natural.
He's the natural.
Just great in the ring and charisma for days. One of my favorite WWE commercials is the Royal Rumble commercial where they're doing the speed dating. And Cody sits down and he like looks at the woman and he goes, I used to have a mustache. And then it goes away and it comes back and he goes, it was a nice one. And the stuff that he did with oh my God, his name just escaped me. The brilliant of the masses. Oh my God, he was like this brainiac.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Rhodes Scholars.
It's Damien Sandow.
Thank you. The intellectual superior of the masses, or something like that. And that just showed Cody's, he had adapted to that. The heart that he had. There's a video that I love seeing, and it's this wish child wanted to meet Stardust, and he wanted to sign a WWE contract, and he wanted Stardust to be there. And Cody made that an absolutely amazing experience. Now, here's my you were talking about Smack Talker of the Year. Cody has never, I'm voting for Cody, but Cody has never talked me into a feud. He has never talked me into investing myself. Yes, he's got charisma for days to watch. A Smack Talker? Yeah. But I'm going with Cody.
Got to ask CBS about that whole award. But
well, that's the thing. Like, Cody, I think he got a lot of things because he's a smart guy. He knows the business inside and out. And when he left WWE and he hit something on fire, and what he said at the right time to the right people, he drew a lot of attention to himself. And I think a lot of it was just people jumping on the Cody Rhodes bandwagon. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
And our final matchup of this round, Jonesy, go for it. Tommy Dreamer versus William Regal.
Okay, this is when my dinner was getting ready, so there's not as much stuff here for Tommy Dreamer. But Tommy Dreamer basically grew up in ECW, is where he got his big start. He's held a lot of small titles in a lot of places. He did win the ECW World Heavyweight Champion once, and he held their World Tag 3 times, once with Johnny Gunn, Raven, and Masato Tanaka. And he's also in their Hardcore Hall of Fame 2010. And then the rest is, Ohio Valley Wrestling. He's got his own Hard Knocks or whatever it's called. I can't remember.
House of Hardcore.
That's the one, House of Hardcore. PWA ranked him number 28 in 2000 out of 500 single wrestlers. You know what? He definitely is I would say a lower card wrestler in my views. He's not a world champion, but he is a damn good worker. And that's the thing. All these guys, they're decent enough to ring. They obviously made it. But I just don't look at him as a world champion. In ECW, absolutely yes. But that was a different world there, where wrestlers that were new the ring, or if they didn't, they could fake their way through. You could do it because it was hardcore. Anything went. He was kind of on both. I think he started more off as a technical wrestler and then went more to the hardcore style, especially his early stuff. William Regal, there's a guy I can see being a world champion, but he's too old for it. Now would be the time I would believe he'd be a world champion, like an NWA or something. But he was, again, a mid-carder. William Regal was. His matches were great. I loved him in WCW. I thought that was the best version of his character. He had some great matches on Saturday night and the lower shows. He held some titles, not as many perhaps as Tommy Dreamer, but he held the Memphis Southern Heavyweight once. In PWA, he was ranked number 18 in 94. And of course, he was the WCW World Television, the European, the Intercontinental, the Hardcore, all in WWE/F. World Tag Champ 4 times with Lance × 2, Eugene, and Tajiri. And of course, he won the King of the Ring in 2008, which I'm sorry. No offense to Steven Regal, but he's not money. You ain't bringing in people to wrestle, at least not on this side of the universe. But if I had to pick between the two, I would believe William Regal more as a major champion than I would Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer, I think, could hold the championship in pretty much any federation except WWE. Believable. Mind you, he could win it once for one night and then drop it, but I hate it when they do that type of stuff. So I got to go with William Regal on this.
Matthew?
Two guys that respect in the industry alone warrants a world championship. Tommy Dreamer has done so much. And people who don't know me, I've said it many times on my podcast, I am not the type to believe everything I read. And I have to see it for myself. And I've worked for Tommy Dreamer at House of Hardcore. And I've talked to people who directly have dealt with Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer has done so much for so many people. Selfless guy and wants to help everybody as much as possible and does it with a smile on his face. He did everything with a smile on his face. The stuff he did in WWE, he did with a smile on his face. His gimmick used to be he would eat strange crap. He ate human hair. He drank the blue stuff at the barber. He would just do stuff like that. I agree with Jonesy saying with Tommy Dreamer that in ECW, he was a believable world champion because that was Tommy Dreamer. Just like that underdog that he couldn't quite do it. And ECW, they did that perfectly where, he sacrificed so much and he dropped so much blood that people just needed him to be the ECW champion. And then, of course, he goes to WWE, and WWE, they won't do the same thing. Their hardcore division was more of a joke. And even though Tommy Dreamer is probably one of the funniest MFers I've ever met in my life, that's not what got him over. And as soon as he was this big thing in ECW and came into WWE, and that's not what people got, people just went like, crap. William Regal, Again, probably one of the most respected guys in wrestling. I've had the opportunity to meet him twice, not in long form, but the guy just exudes wrestling. The respect he has for wrestling and the respect that he expects out of everybody for wrestling. And Jonesy said, I could see him being a champion. There is one thing that I swear to, that William Regal is better than The Rock at, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ultimate Warrior, former world champions, great world champions, top of the world champions. When he was a champion, be it TV champion, European champion, Intercontinental champion, King of the Ring, he would walk to the ring and that belt was held there. And it was the focus. It was like, look what I have. And he honored that champion and he respected that championship. Stone Cold Steve Austin would drag it behind him. The Rock would just like swing the thing in the air. The Warrior would wear it backwards or around his neck. I could see William Regal being an honorable world champion because he respects championships. Championships mean something to him, and people look at it like, oh, there's so many championships these days, they mean nothing. You give William Regal a chance. Even now, as the NXT commissioner, he comes out and he points at that Dusty Rhodes Cup, or he has that vacant championship, or he presents a new championship belt to the current champion, and he treats it like it is a piece of gold. Like anybody should be honored to hold on to this. And for that, William Regal wins out with me.
Yeah, so I also am going to go with William Regal. It's a clean sweep on there. He was one of my favorite Kings that they did. But you pointed out how he carried the championship and how he presents it. That totally rings true, because even when he was in WCW, what his butler was, Sir William was holding the title and presenting it as a trophy as opposed to just an accessory. And the knowledge that he has, I love Tommy Dreamer as well. He was one of my down to earth guys that kind of was like, oh, he's a cool person to follow. But yeah, I gotta go with William Regal. So it's a sweep there. We'll quickly break down the first round, and then we start doing our rapid fire. So Shinsuke Nakamura beat MVP 3-0. Fit Finlay beat Zack Ryder 3-0. Bobby Roode beat John Morrison 2-1. Umaga beat Samoa Joe 2-1. So Cesaro beat Matt Hardy 3-0. Wade Barrett beat Mr. Kennedy 3-0. Cody Rhodes beat Sami Zayn 2-1. And William Regal just took out Tommy Dreamer in a sweep 3-0. Setting up our second round being Nakamura and Finlay, Bobby Roode and Umaga, Cesaro and Wade Barrett, and Cody Rhodes and William Regal. So any surprises before we dive in?
I guess you're talking to me, seeing that Jonesy is not in his seat. I'm surprised. I'm not second guessing, or I'm not trying to judge you guys. I'm surprised Samoa Joe didn't move on. When I saw that and I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna go with Umaga. I thought, but it's gonna be that one that I threw the wrench in. I'm surprised Samoa Joe didn't go through. That's my only real upset.
I voted for Joe.
I know you voted for Joe. Jonesy, you and me, buddy. But it's I'm surprised when Umaga when Jonesy said Umaga, and I'm like, wait, I'm voting for Umaga. Oh my God, Umaga's gonna win. We'll see how far he goes, but
we'll see. That sets up our next round. And Matthew, you get to start it off. We go rapid fire through these next rounds. Nakamura against Finlay.
Oh, the king of strong style versus someone that'll punch you in the fucking mouth. Man, See, Shinsuke Nakamura, I'm looking at this, and Shinsuke Nakamura has like a legit MMA background, and Fit Finlay he's legit tough. I would just love to see these guys have like a disagreement in the back, even at the age that Fit Finlay is. But as far as world champion, Shinsuke Nakamura presents himself as a champion, and Fit Finlay, I think, given the opportunity, actually, if I think back to his United States title runs and stuff like that, probably respects the titles. But Shinsuke Nakamura, I just think he presents himself more as a champion. So yeah, I think he's a much better, or he would be a much better world champion.
Okay, so vote for Nakamura. I too am voting for Nakamura. Just all the New Japan titles, the IWGP ones, winning the G1, and he's getting very close. Won the Royal Rumble, got a sniff at the world title, but yeah, I'm going with Nakamura over Finlay. Jonesy, clean sweep or not?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So we'll mark that one.
Thanks for coming out, Jonesy.
No problem.
It makes it so much easier. So then we move on to our next one, which is glorious Bobby Roode taking on Umaga. Yeah, we looked at some of the things that they've both accomplished. Bobby Roode just oozes being a champion. As much as Matthew pointed out that Umaga was such a focused bulldozer, as Estrada would call him, the Samoan bulldozer, and was determined and going after stuff and was very aggressive and amazing heel in that regards. His face turn just should never have happened for starters. But Bobby Roode, as I said, oozes, in my opinion, champion, dresses like a champion, presents himself as such. And since getting rid of the whole beer money thing and being a champion in TNA and then NXT, I just wish they'd figure it out and let him loose on SmackDown and do that. But they got the Roman doing the head of the table. So I'm going with Bobby Roode.
If he was about 10 years younger and was at the point he is now, I could definitely see it. But I agree with everything except he's not a world champion. He hasn't got there yet. I go with Umaga again. He's a friggin' monster. He doesn't even need to talk. He was talented enough in the ring that he could work with any guy. And again, it's one of those where how the F does a guy like The Miz and all these other jabronis that they put the world title on, which destroyed what the world title even meant in the WWE to me, but they wouldn't give it to a guy like Umaga. Okay. So I got to go with Umaga on that. I would pay money for him over Bobby Roode.
Your tiebreaker again there, Matthew.
Have you ever done a tournament of people that have actually won the championship but might not have deserved it?
No, well, we could do that one.
No, because I'm a huge Miz fan. I think Miz should be like a 5-time champion by now. I love Miz as world champion. I always have. Umaga, I love Bobby. Solid in the ring. The whole, glorious thing. But Umaga just has that. He had that it factor. He just didn't get to. He didn't get to develop it. He didn't get to nurture it. It only happened once, but I guess it lasted 2 weeks, where I can't remember who it was, but they accidentally hit on Umaga, and it was like a heel hitting him, and Umaga just kind of like looked at Umaga had like that big butt thing or whatever in the corner, and that what he went in and they were going to attack Cena, and then the heel accidentally hit him, and then Umaga just looked at, and the crowd just went like boom, like yes, kick his ass. That's believability, and legitimacy. I love legitimate champions, and as much as Bobby Roode is a legitimate wrestler, Umaga just looked like a legitimate human being. Like that's just was actually if you ran into him walking to his car, watch out because he was going to eat you. Like, just genuine. I go with Umaga. I can't believe this is going to end like weird.
Yeah. Hey, that's why it has to have 3 people and 3 different opinions. We could have had up to 5 tonight, but could go anywhere.
I'm already thinking of that next round. Oh my Lord.
Cesaro versus Wade Barrett. And I got to mark this. Yep. Jonesy?
No, I'm going on this one. Okay.
Yep.
Cesaro and Barrett. Either one of these guys would be a good choice to go to the next round. I would prefer to see Barrett. However, you can't deny the in-ring ability of Cesaro, a guy that can do some of the moves in which he does in the ring, like whether it's spinning a guy forever and then it doesn't seem to faze him. He's learned how that the spinning doesn't affect him. He's still able to go, and to me that just amazes me. I gotta go with him. I believe the match would be better with Cesaro than Barrett, but I'd be just as happy with Barrett. But because I got to pick, I'm going with Cesaro.
Okay. Matthew.
I said it just a moment ago with Umaga. Just legitimacy is big with me. And Cesaro looks legitimate, but he doesn't have the pedigree of legitimate. And Wade Barrett, again, 6'7", 246 pounds. He's a legitimate bare knuckle fighter. Just look at him. And he has that United Kingdom respect pedigree for championships. I truly believe that. So I'm going with Wade Barrett.
Okay. As much as I'd love to see Cesaro break that glass ceiling and have that brass ring, as they even pictured him with a brass ring a couple of years ago, making fun of Vince's thing. Wade Barrett just, should have been and wasn't. If he's able to step back in, I'd love to see it. I'm going with Barrett to advance. And that brings us to Matthew. We're going to go with Cody against William Regal.
I spoke at length. I just think William Regal is William Regal just exemplifies champion to me. Maybe not quite world champion, but he just exemplifies champion. And Cody Rhodes, a nice guy, professionally and personally, I like him. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but backstage, such an accommodating guy, and did things for kids and did things for me and did things for other people. But I haven't really I've never gotten onto the Cody Rhodes train. William Regal just exemplifies champion to me. So I have to go with William Regal.
I too am going to go with William Regal. I think Cody does have a lot in the bag for what he can present, and he has the mind for business. Being a second generation, following his dad. But I don't know. There's something about Cody that also kind of bugs me, with the fact that he's living too much in the shadow of his dad instead of trying to be himself. We saw what Dustin was able to do by trying to get out of his dad's shadow by doing the gold dust thing and becoming his own person and then embracing the family. Cody seems just too much trying to be his dad instead of himself. Regal presents legitimacy as a champion and unfortunately never got to that pinnacle. So I'm going to go with Regal. Jonesy, is it a clean sweep?
Rhodes is too pretty to be a champion. I gotta go with Regal, even though I think that Rhodes would bring more money in. But William Regal, especially if we're talking late 80s, early 90s, WWF or WCW, he could have fit in as a champion.
Okay, so
If I can interject for just one thing, because it finally popped into my head, because you had said earlier Cody Rhodes' tag team titles, Bob Holly, and you said 2 with Ted DiBiase. I was a huge Ted DiBiase Jr. fan, and if he would have spent more time in WWE, he would probably be in this tournament. I knew that he only had 1 with Cody, and I'm sitting there like, who else? And then I just popped into my head. I'm like, Gold Dust, of course. So he had Holly, Ted DiBiase, and Gold Dust. You had said Ted DiBiase twice. Oh, I'm just trying to make up for my lack of preparedness before.
Yeah, no worries. So just looking at the results of the second round, Nakamura took out Finlay 3-0. Umaga, surprisingly in my case, took out Bobby Roode, the Glorious One, 2-1. Wade Barrett is advanced over Cesaro, 2-1. And William Regal took a clean sweep over Cody Rhodes, setting up Nakamura against Umaga. That should be interesting. And Wade Barrett against William Regal. So we go to Nakamura versus Umaga, and it's not a knock on Umaga that he's not getting my votes. I like the guy. He was amazing in the whole 3-minute warning even beforehand as Jamal. But it's Nakamura, multiple-time IWGP champion and 2-time U.S. champion, 1-time IC, 2-time NXT, and that one got him a huge acknowledgement with his battle with Sami Zayn. I gotta go with Nakamura. Jonesy.
I love Nakamura, but Umaga. If you put those 2 guys side by side and you say, who do you think is the world champion of this company? They're going to point to Umaga. I got to go with Umaga on this, especially when we're talking about representing a major, huge company like the WWE. It'd be Umaga.
You're breaking the tie again there, Matthew.
Okay. I've already said the word several times, legitimacy. You look at Umaga and you just believe that that's actually who he is. Estrada, the package with Estrada, he's the perfect animal. But because I never saw it, I think that's where the wall is with me. Shinsuke Nakamura, legitimately, as I said, has an MMA background. He can kick your ass. He's not the most well-built individual. Like when you say heavyweight champion, he kind of he's heavyweight weight, but he's not like the most built guy. Not that that's really a necessity, but he's legitimate. He makes things look legitimate. He hits you hard. So at that point, they're tied, but then not to the level of William Regal or even Wade Barrett. When Shinsuke Nakamura has a championship, he might caress it, he might cradle it, but it's not a trinket to him. It's not an accessory to him. It's important that he has to look what I have, look what I got. This is my championship. I am proud to have it. So because of that, Shinsuke Nakamura, he wins it for me.
There you go. And Jonesy, you get to finish off this and see who goes to the finals against Nakamura. Wade Barrett, William Regal. Battle of the
now I don't care who wins, Barrett or Regal. You know what? I got to go with Barrett on this one because again, the whole NXT angle, Nexus angle, and all that. It's too bad he, for whatever reason, they picked not to have him go further. Cena. And bad news, Barrett gimmick. I'm sorry. Those are the things that make me click a channel. the more yakety yak that isn't more serious talk, I tune out, and that's why I didn't like him. The original Barrett, the way he was, I really liked. I got to go with Barrett on that. That's it.
There we go. And Matthew.
Kind of a weird direction to go. And I said earlier how I believe nothing I read or nothing I hear. But from all indications, and I've heard it from multiple people, William Regal and Vince McMahon are just like two peas in a pod. Apparently they get along absolutely amazingly. Apparently they're just mirror images of each other. Like their senses of humor and their respect for wrestling are just mirror images of each other. So it makes you wonder, because William Regal's been in WWE for how long? Like, why did he never do that? Like, it's not like he was bad in the ring. It's not like he didn't have the respect of his peers. And it's not like he's not getting along great with the boss. So why? Why didn't he ever,
Because he's British or English or whatever.
But he never even really, he had that run again, like Finlay against Batista, and probably was a little more believable than Finlay. But Wade Barrett, he has the look, he has legitimacy. And to me, like William Regal went all those years in WWE, and for some reason it never happened. Wade Barrett, he has a did not finish. He has a DNF on his report card for whatever reason. Again, believe nothing you hear and nothing I hear. He just seems to have that DNF. Like he just got cut off just too short. Like he was and then just something just boomed, bottomed out for him. Whatever reason that might have been. So it's just, I think Wade Barrett just still had the opportunity. And I think he still actually does. He's not an old man.
No, and as I said, I heard rumors that after stuff with Drew McIntyre recently, he was like, I could probably do this again. And it's just a matter of time if he does decide to pull the trigger. I think to answer your question about why Regal did not reach that pinnacle is probably because of his unfortunate track record with personal demons. I even recall hearing Bruce Pritchard talk about the fact that in his first meeting with Vince McMahon, he fell asleep or passed out cold because of what being loaded on that same meeting. But he still got hired. It's just, I don't know if Vince thought he was as reliable to put the strap on him. He's reliable enough to do things like training and be the position that he is and still be there. And Vince has helped him out a lot over the years behind the scenes personally. So that would be my only reason why he probably did not reach that pinnacle.
I don't know how much time is on his chip, but I bet or from what I hear, and again, I believe nothing I hear, but it's what I hear. He's got many notches in his chip, and I don't know. I don't know. It's a question.
So
Go ahead.
I'm going with Wade Barrett either way. So yeah, love William Regal, just was not in the cards for him. And that brings us to our finish as Nakamura took out Umaga 2-1, and Barrett took out Regal in a clean sweep 3-0, setting up Nakamura versus Wade Barrett, and it goes to Matthew.
Unfortunately, when I saw the semifinals, I was kind of hoping that Nakamura and Umaga would end up being the final, just because I didn't see Barrett or Regal matching up against either one. So, long story short, the Reader's Digest version is Shinsuke Nakamura is just, and again, I think it's just that DNF of Wade Barrett. He could have, I could see him being the United Kingdom version of Shinsuke Nakamura, but Shinsuke Nakamura just got that opportunity. He got that little bit closer, where Royal Rumble win and what have you. he got that more shine. So Shinsuke Nakamura just hot over and above, not even close.
Yeah, I definitely am agreeing with you on that one. Just so much hardware and legitimate hardware, not a whackload of independent titles where maybe come and go. But he spent time in New Japan and got all those accolades. Has been with WWE for time he's been. So he's getting my vote, which means 2 votes already for him. Chris, does he get a clean sweep?
No, I would have gone with Barrett. Even though, yes, Nakamura has more legitimacy and all that, but Barrett is like that diamond in the rough. He came in hot and then he fizzled. I think his feud with John Cena was a really good feud. It actually made me want to watch that part of the program.
Yeah, I don't know if it was also injuries that took him down as well, but that initial thing with SummerSlam, I pointed out earlier that both Edge and Jericho shake their head and go, "This should not have happened. They should have been the ones on the losing end and not the Nexus." But Nakamura has come out on top of this one. Guys, I want to thank you for being a part of this week's tournament, and it's time to plug away. So, Jonesy, we'll start with you.
Of course, I'm terrible at this stuff, but this week in wrestling history, we've recorded a bunch in advance, so I'm kind of confused of what date we're at anyways. But no, just listen to that. If you like history, if you like doing trivia and learning things you never knew about these guys before, there's always little nuggets in there, no matter how much you watched wrestling or followed it. There's always little things in there that some of the crazy things that these wrestlers have done, like the one wrestler, I'm trying to think of his name right now, who was able to pick up a cow and actually move it in the field during his farming days. Some of these guys are even more amazing outside of the ring than they were inside the ring. And some were terrible people.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, this week in history is Thursdays at 12 on our YouTube and Facebook pages, and you can check that out. Of course, it's going to be available on all our podcast outlets. And this week is going to be April 30th to May 6th. That will appear on Thursday. And Matthew, you got anything you want to plug?
Oh, do I?
Go for it.
I am the host of the It's Time to Fight podcast. We are moving the show from Tuesday to Wednesday now, strictly because I'm going back to do an old show that I used to do called Shooting the Shit Tuesday, and you can't really put that show on any other night or any other day, I should say. So I had to move It's Time to Fight from Tuesdays to Wednesdays. This week, as you and I were talking about before we started recording, this week was supposed to be I'm getting caught up basically. So it's supposed to be like this long line of things, but crap happens. So I got a lot of great guests coming up with that. Thursdays, I've started a new project with Dangerous Danny Davis, the original heel referee. We're going to be starting to do stuff on Thursdays. We take questions that people might have for Danny Davis, for, what was he doing at this point? What was he doing at WrestleMania 3? Where was he with this? You can send in your questions to thedangerouspod@gmail.com. Any question. You would be amazed how open this man is. We just did our live debut a couple of Saturdays ago at the CK Expo virtual event. And so I called him. Like, we went on at 5 o'clock, and I called him around noon, and I said, we'll just run through some stuff. And I was like, okay, you okay talking about this? You okay talking about this? And the guy was just like, I'll talk about anything. I said, are you okay talking about your family? And he's just like, not about my ex-wife, but yeah, anything else. Like, I'm like, all right, cool.
Awesome. Sounds like a really good show to check out. And Jonesy had to get going. The whole moving stuff going on. He just sent me a message saying, "Have a good night." So everybody will see that later.
Just let Matt keep talking.
Yeah, it's all good. Just quickly on our end, our store is with Pro Wrestling Tees / Scumbags Wrestling. 4 designs right there. All of them are going for charity. The 3 designs with the logos are going to Jordito's Recovery, and the Ontario Indie Comic Book tribute shirt is going to Steven's Wrestling Journey. So 2 little guys, 1 7 going with cancer, and of course Steven with 9 years old, carrying malformation, and trying to find research with Children's Hospital in Toronto. So go to our page, prowrestlingtees.com / Scumbags Wrestling, and buy one of those shirts. Get a great shirt and help out 2 great kids that deserve at least to be kids. So we're there to help out with that. And of course, all our shows are brought to you by Cool Bet. Stay cool, bet responsibly, and they're the ones who sponsor our Scumbags Prediction League. Happens for every pay-per-view, WWE, NXT, AEW, and Impact Wrestling. Earn points just by guessing who's going to win. And at the end of the year, next March, you can win this lovely championship presented by Cool Bets, as I said, and designed by Ultimate Belts. So find us at scumbagswrestling.ca for more details. And we'll be back on Thursday, tomorrow, when you're watching this, but for our regular podcast at 8 o'clock on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So thank you, Matt, for being a part of this, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Take care.